I'm so excited. Oh, I said I was going to be quiet, but I can't. Yay! So I'm sitting down today with Stine, who is one of the most wonderful women that I know, but you're also one of the women that have been in my life for the longest amount of time and continues to be a wonderful, inspirational sister, mother, healer, wonderful entrepreneur figure in my life. I am so, so, so grateful that you said yes to coming on the podcast, taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that, you're also a wonderful yoga teacher. You're also a life coach. You also have two wonderful children. There's so much going on in your life, and yet you still said yes. So thank you, thank you, thank you, Stine. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be with you.
Amazing. And Stine, I before you came here today, I was trying to remember the very first time you and I met. So for the listeners listening, Stine and I met essentially through my brother. So Stine used to date my older brother. And because we're Danish and in Denmark, we all get along with everyone forever, usually. We are a small country. We need to keep the connections. Anyway, so as far as I remember, I seem to remember that I was 6 years old and I woke up one morning and my mom in the kitchen was like, hey, I think Tobias has a girlfriend, Tobias being my older brother. And I remember going into his room where you were, and I think you were still kind of asleep. And I decided to tell you everything about my life and show you all of my dolls and all of my collections of books and anything else that I collected. And I secretly, and this I wanted to tell you, I secretly had this voice inside my heart. Yes, the sister has arrived. Everything is good now. She finally arrived. And I don't know if you knew that it would be, fast forward, we would sit here together now. I don't even know, like 30 years, even longer than that, 33 years later, and still be in contact. And, I still think of you as this highly inspirational, wonderful woman in my life. So at least from my side, all I can say is that, I saw you at the age of 6 in my brother's bedroom, and I never let you go.
And I never let you go.
Amazing. Is that right? Is that the first time we actually met?
Yes, it was the first time we met. And I mean, I still see your mother because now I live again in Copenhagen. I was away for 25 years in Germany, in Berlin, but now I'm back here and I see your mother. So it's really a soul trip. It's really special. And also that we are working in the same field.
100%. 100%. And we're gonna get into that in a minute, but I just want to sort of highlight that I remember writing you a letter when I was, I think, maybe in my early to mid 20s. And I wrote you a letter saying that, thank you for walking the path before me. Thank you for showing me what's possible. Because the fact that you left Denmark when I was so little and you sort of showed, you told my brain and my heart, look what's possible, And even when you decided to go from being a dancer to a yoga teacher, it was that thing of look what's possible. You always paved the way. And yeah, just amazing. But let's go back in history even more for the listeners. So it's not just you and me sitting here reminiscing about good old days. So Stine, where were you born and what kind of family structure were you born into?
So I'm born and raised in Copenhagen, like you are. And I was living with my parents, being a single child for the first 6 years. Then my parents got divorced, and actually it was a kind of peaceful divorce. Me and my mom moved out, and we just moved one house away from the house from my dad. So when I was in the yard playing, I could look up and see the apartment from me and my mom on the 5th floor, and the next house was the house from my dad on the 4th floor. So actually it was pretty nice. And yeah, so then family structure wise, I finally got a brother. I was really happy not to be the single child anymore. So my dad got a new wife, and so it was very nice not to be only me. So we were 2, and later on we were 3. So it was nice. And I think actually I had a really nice childhood in Copenhagen. I was very much into expression. So I did a lot of theater and dance. In quite an early age, I started. And so this was also the path that I choose to track, the way to express through the body. And I experienced it and tried many, many things. And this got my path. And then my family structure changed. So in the age of 13, my mom got mental ill in such a bad way that somehow my dad and his wife and with me choose that I had to move to their place. And this was, I think, the first really break I had or cut, and but it also has a lot of it was really what happened at that time. It made me to the person that I am today. And so in a very early age, I also was doing therapy, because the wife from my dad, she is still a working psychologist. I still know her. Denmark, you all see each other. So yes, so I went to therapy already starting with 13. And so I was very much into this, to the psych, to understand through myself, what is going on. And I was really, really a teenager. And this was, the worst thing what could happen, to lose your own mom. And I was really close to my mom. And but I lost her. She's still living, but she was not there. So I had to be the grown up. So that's why it was a very good decision from my dad and his wife that they had to, take care of me.
Yeah.
So I experienced also a lot of also kind of trauma. And I think what I really learned from falling was really to stand up. And this was just one of my fallings. And I learned that I can always stand up. And I think what I learned was that I was kind of a victim. Something happened to me from outside, what I could not really control. And taking the empowerment in your own hands. I mean, I was just a child. I was 13, but somehow I managed. And what is very interesting is that I read afterwards, it is like that, but I didn't know at that time, that children who are like, if their parents are just, if they are dying or getting sick, healthy children, they then find other role models, find other grown-ups to lean into if they don't have their own. And I was really close with your mom. And she was really helping me. It was later on, I was 18 when I was together with your brother. But your mom was also a role model. She was a person who I could lean into. And she's just one of some. So I chose already with 13. Also, I was not conscious about it, but I chose it. It was like a dance teacher I had. It was like your mom later on. It was English teacher in the school. There was some strong female persons. Maybe they even didn't know that I was leaning into them. But, you know, they believed in me. They saw me and I saw them. So that helped me to move on.
Right.
And so, yeah. So then, life was unfolding. And after school, I had this dream of becoming a dancer.
Yeah.
And I was always dancing, but I was not trained technically like you were in the ballet school.
Yeah.
But what I was really good was to express myself. This was my power. Maybe not the technical part, but I was really like, wow, and I had the drive, you know. And then I was very lucky that I joined. It's called the Dance Works Danseværksted, where you also were. And I went there, and then it was like the preschool for entering real dance educations in Europe.
Yeah.
And so I had to go before I had to do the auditions for Europe. I had to do like a test with a doctor, you know, examination for can your body take it to be a dancer. And I was pretty old for being a dancer as a female. I was already now there maybe 19 or so. So we are talking not ballet dancer, like modern dancer.
Yeah.
Contemporary dancer. It's something really different. And the doctor in Copenhagen, he said, this will never work with your body. And it's because I'm born 6 weeks too early. So my hip is not fully in the hip socket. So I have some problems with rotations. So I don't have really inwards. So if you don't know about dance, it's like you really need to have you can
Rotate.
Yes, from the hips. So my rotation was just smaller than the others, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, but because I have always standing up, you know, from falling through that with my mom and some other family things, I was like, so what?
Right.
Do it anyway, you know. And what happened? I became a dancer. So I applied for the dance school in Berlin, and I went there. And so what I want to tell about this is really that nobody outside can tell you not to do it. There's always a way. And maybe your way is different from the other one, but so what? So if you are, you know, for me, it really developed a lot of drive and a lot of willpower just to keep going, you know, not to give up.
100%.
And that's why also, you know, after being a dancer, it's not easy to survive, you know, to survive as a dancer. It's really elbows forward.
Yeah.
But I always just continued, you know, and I thought I will stay. I then, you know, moved to Berlin, and I thought I will stay there. The education was 3 years. I thought maybe I stayed just 2, but because I was missing Copenhagen, but I stayed actually 25 years.
Right. Can I ask you, thank you so much for sharing all of this. And also it's so interesting for me because there's so many things I didn't know about you, right? So this is like, yay, I'm getting the full story. But can I ask you, when you were living in Berlin, and I'm sure your attachment to Copenhagen changed, and I'm also sure that, you know, throughout your time there, because 25 years, you know, you shift and change and mold into a new you every day. So 25 years is a huge time. And you also went there from being a young, you know, teenager to then finding your own fate, to then becoming a mother, and then changing careers slightly, and, you know, changing partners, like all of that. There's so many transitions. But what I'm really curious about is, throughout all of these years, did you always because I mean, from at least from my side, when we used to see each other, I felt like you at times had this sort of very beautiful romantic idea about Copenhagen. Is that right? Is that how you also felt about it, or was there this kind of, because there'd been beauty for you in Copenhagen, but there'd also been a lot of trauma? So did you have this kind of contrasting relationship with it?
Yeah, you're really saying something on the point. I think what is really describing my path is the path of the heart. And so either it was my heart choosing my path, or I decided from my head that my heart has to take the
Lead.
the lead. Yes. So I think my heart was telling me to leave Copenhagen for a time, heal. Because sometimes to have a little distance, it can be very, very good. Just to feel yourself in a neutral space. And anyway, just going out from your comfort zone, everything what you know, it's really, 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 you learn so much about traveling. You learn so much about yourself.
100% right. And it's that thing, you know, I always think what causes us the most suffering in life is actually our attachment to a sense of identity. Yes. And when we travel, like you just mentioned, or even more, we go so much out of our comfort zone that we literally move to another country. We naturally shape a new identity in that space because we have to, right? You know, the old won't work in the same way, different culture, different opportunities, etc., etc. But that sense of, you put yourself in Berlin, you had to create a new identity, and you could also create a completely new you from scratch, right? No one knew you before you came, and I can really relate to that, right? But that sense of, it's what I use in my own practice every day. Just that thing of, whenever I notice my brain zooming in on what appears to be the problem, I really try and take a step back, like you said, create some space. And I keep reminding myself, because from where I sit, we are all literally the universe expressing itself through us. I'm not just Josephine the way we know her. We have endless identities within us. We have endless space if we choose that. Anyway, back over to you.
Yeah, and also because I think our biggest responsibility is to heal our own wounds, so that we are not giving our own wounds to our children, to our girlfriends, to our colleagues, to our family members. This is really, really important. And it, of course, takes some time to heal. And it always, you know, it always starts with a little step in the right direction, and maybe then you fall 10 steps back, but this is how it goes. Small steps in the right direction. And and this is to follow your heart and to be whole. So I think the path what I'm still choosing, what I'm living, is the path of to be whole.
Yeah.
And following my heart. So I have never have really a boss. I was always my own boss.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, living this kind of life, being your own boss, always be a freelance. Actually, you have to embrace also uncertainty. You never really know if, you know, I never really know if I will have enough students on my yoga retreats and so on. But I mean, now I have been doing this kind of work for 20 years and it still somehow goes. But I'm so happy that I have been choosing this path, and that I'm not, you know, it really makes sense for me to do this work. Yeah, so.
No, it's really beautiful. It's really courageous. You know, the most courageous thing we can ever do is continue to follow our heart, right? Like, continue to follow that which is calling us in, even if rationally it feels crazy, even if no one else of our peers, family, friends are doing it. But, you know, the way that I always ask myself whether to go left or right, I always go, the only one that I can never run away from is me, right? So I have to look myself in the eyes every day in the mirror And if I know in me that I'm turning right when my whole body's going, we gotta turn left, then I gotta turn left.
Yeah.
Because there will not be peace outside of me if there's not peace in me. And there will not be peace in me if I keep pushing myself into a direction or into a mold that someone else is trying to mold me into. So I really, really get that. So then, I mean, this is so juicy, but I want to ask you, you said 25 years in Berlin, was that right?
Yes, 25 years.
And so I'm sure that, you know, it wasn't just an instant decision of, okay, I'm feeling called to go to Denmark, maybe for a while, maybe forever. How long, like, when did you notice the whispers starting to come, like maybe it's time?
To move back to Copenhagen. So it changes with my, getting children. Actually, I'm very, very happy that I've been away from Copenhagen, and I'm very, very happy that my children, they are born in, I have two boys, they are nearly 16 and 14, and my husband, he is from Berlin, you know him.
Yes.
And we have been together for 22 years now, I think. And so I had the feeling, I had this call that I also wanted that my children should not only be in vacation in Copenhagen. And anyway, we have been so much in Copenhagen as with my family, so they know Copenhagen as their second space, second city.
Yeah.
And Berlin also changed a lot from being the coolest city in the world for me. I wanted that my children should live in this multi-culti, there's living really like in London, people from all over the world. And I'm very, very, I feel very grateful. I'm very lucky that I was in Berlin at the right time. It was just, I was moving to Berlin in 97. It's really a long time ago. It was before the Euro.
Yeah, that's true.
And it was just, Berlin was just so wild. Sometimes it was even too wild for me, coming from sweet Copenhagen. And at that time, Copenhagen was not always so sweet, But it was really so wild. But also I have, been to galleries and parties and met so many great spirits and wild, Berlin is wild and Copenhagen is beautiful and really, really nice place to live, at the ocean. So I was very, very happy to be in Berlin, but it's also a really hard city, especially in the winter. So what we did as a family, we every winter we went to India. So I became a yoga teacher in 2005, and that was also one reason we were escaping from Berlin to India. So I was learning also in India, and we were living in India. So we went there every year for 7 years from 4 months.
Wow.
4 months for 7 years. So my husband was counting the days. So it's around 3 years in all. It was really a very nice balance, being in this big city, and then in the winter when Berlin was not so nice, we just escaped, living at the ocean, having a nice time. So that was very, very good. Yeah. So why did I wanted to move back? Yeah, I want that my children should, I wanted, they are half Danish, half German. I wanted that they should, also feel Denmark inside, the cultural, then how the Danes are.
Yeah.
I wanted to live at the ocean. I wanted to live in a smaller city. I wanted that my children should keep their Danish passports.
Yeah.
Many reasons also for the future. And I wanted that they should be teenagers not in Berlin, but in Copenhagen. And they are actually much more free here.
Right.
I just let them because it's so, it's really safe in comparison with Berlin, you know?
I completely understand that. And that also goes hand in hand with that whole thing of, again, following your own heart's calling. So what was calling you in at the age of 18, 19, when you originally came to Berlin, but, you know, might not be what is calling you in anymore currently. And I think, even, because I totally understand as a mother, but I even think, even if you had chosen not to have children, I still think that, you know, as we change, and not just in terms of, you know, what we do for a living, how we like to spend our time, we don't want to travel so much, or is it wild, is it this, is it that, but the energy of the place, right? Your energy has changed and shifted. And
exactly. It's just like in Berlin, you know, you can go out every weekend, but I don't go out every weekend, you know. I want to be in nature. I want to do conscious dance in the
yes,
morning.
yeah, right. And I also think there's also this thing of, you know, you fully embraced and allowed yourself to, and continue to allow yourself to explore your psyche, explore who you are, and express who you are, and following wherever that takes you. And obviously now you have a family, so there's that to think about. But if we don't allow that, if we start, you know, and most people sadly grow up thinking they don't have choice. That's a big one, right? You know, and then there's another one, which is, thankfully, you've decided to reframe your entire history, right? You're looking back at your past and you've reframed it so that it empowered you into who you are now, and it continues to empower the choices you make going forward. But that also means that you are at home with who you are. You are at home in your body, being by yourself, or even choosing more quiet lifestyle at times feels peaceful, not worrisome, right? Because there's so much old emotion that needs to get out, right?
Yeah, and it was not really an easy decision because we had a good life in Berlin.
Right.
Our rent was the half what we pay now in Copenhagen.
Right.
And our apartment was nicer than the one we have now. But so the children and my husband were like, when I asked them many, many times over some years, can you, maybe 2 years, I was like, can you imagine? And they were like, yeah, maybe. But I was the one, you know, I was the one. And this is such a big responsibility to take, you know, taking your whole family with the roots up and plant them somewhere else. And then, you know, I was like, okay, if it doesn't work, we just move back, you know? Of course, it's like you know, my children are teenagers. It's much easier with smaller children.
Yeah.
But when you have teenagers, you know, so they were like 11 and 13 at that time. It was like last minute. I think if I have waited 1 more year, they will just say, no, we stay here. He is our friends.
Right.
So I was like, okay, if it doesn't work, we just move back, and we still have an apartment in Berlin. Yeah.
And I also think, you know, I think obviously it's so beautiful that you had that courage, but I think also, and you know, and of course, yes, continuing for the boys to be able to continue to hold their Danish passport is massive for their future, so they have more choice. But I think even beyond that, the fact that not through theorizing or mentally trying to map it out, you actually demonstrated to them, yes, change is scary, yes, transitioning is scary, but it's seriously possible. You know, they themselves have now, they have that embodiment that will never leave them, that yes, it is possible to literally move up the roots, try another place with the challenges and the wonderful stuff that happens, but we survive it. And I know from our interactions that they're actually thriving and they're actually really happy there now, right?
They're so happy, you know. And so the thing is that after some month, I just experienced it with my boys, with my sons. They were like, I can have 2 cities in my heart, Copenhagen and Berlin. And of course, I have to do more that they see their friends from Berlin. Now in the Easter holiday, we will meet them all in the south of Germany. Every year we do this. So of course, this is my responsibility, you know, but yeah.
No,
It's really about taking care of your needs
right?
and taking risks, because you never know, you know, you have to embrace uncertainty. You have to, but if you stay always where you are and you're not really satisfied, I mean, you have this life, and the only one who can change it is yourself. So you need to meet your fear, your
Meet your fears.
meet
Meet
your
your fears.
fears, meet your fears. Oh, and sometimes it's also my motto, you know, to meet your fears.
100%. And there's also, and I loved it so much. I can really, really, really relate to that, Stina. And it's really funny because often people see me from the outside and they're like, "Oh, Josie, you know, you're so courageous, you're so fearless," and I'm like, "No, I have huge amount of fears. If you heard the voices in my head, I guess the only thing that's different is I action it anyway. Like, you know, don't obviously." You know, I do the research and I try and understand as much as I can about the situation. But if there's something that's really in my heart, I always give it a try. I always give it a try because it's like, you know, we regret the things we didn't give a try. I've never ever, and I've really tried a lot of things in my life, you know, I've never ever sat down and thought, oh, I really wish I hadn't done that thing. It's, you know, however challenging it's been at times. Yeah. What do you want to say?
No, it's just about, it's really, you know, fear is not bad, you know. You also need fear that you're not, you know, swimming out in the wild ocean, or just going out of on the street when there's coming a car.
Yeah.
But it's really about that fear is not controlling you and stopping you living your dreams and your lives. And I think this is the difference. And also that you are like, it's okay to push your comfort zone, you know. When I did my yoga education there in Berlin, so I learned it in German, and I have learned German in school, but it's really different, you know, to to work and live and speak in another language. So I had to teach in German, and in the beginning I was like, I cannot do that. It's not possible with this grammar. It's just, you know, because speaking the truth and speaking the teachings of the truth, it needs, you know, I'm connecting with my own wisdom, and I'm getting, you know, intuitive. And if I then have to think about grammar, it's just blocking my wisdom. So, you know, I had really to fight with that when I was starting to teach, because I wanted to be perfect. I wanted that. I didn't want to be the sweet Danish, you know, speaking the S, you know. In German, they say sh, and in Danish, we say s, you know.
Yeah.
So,
like the snake.
yeah. So I was a little bit in the beginning, the sweet Dane, you know. And at that time, there was not that many foreigners doing the yoga education in German. So I got a little bit the first one, but actually I got afterwards the role model for many, 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 many other people from all over the world doing the education at that place, because it went the big yoga institute in Berlin, and I worked there for 16 years, and I was teaching in German. So what I want to say with that is, you know, when you think that your weaknesses, you know, this is actually not your weaknesses. That will be your label.
Your
you know?
strength.
Your strength. And actually, I think also there is, of course, is also maybe the way I do it. And, you know, I am, my teaching is called Yoga Embodiment. So I mix Vinyasa yoga and elements from modern dance and from life coaching. This is what I do, with many, many other things and beyond that. And so, yeah, but so you can use the thing you think is your weaknesses. Like you said, this is becoming your strength, and this will be your label, or your specials.
100%, 100%. And I mean, you know, also in my own life, right? So I felt like an outsider when I was a kid. And actually, pretty much through my life, I've always felt like I feel too much. There is too much emotion in me, right? That's great when you are an actress, you're a dancer, you know, you're somehow a performer, you have an outlet for it. You know, I write books, all of that. And so I could express it in those ways. But it was much more when I started to do energy healing for people, and I started to do intuitive readings for people, and I started to do therapy for people. And all of a sudden I was like, this is my home. Now it makes sense. You know, the fact that I can sense where people are at.
Yeah.
And even if a lot of the time, you know, I'll be out and about, and because I'm so empathetic, and that's something it's hard to just switch it off and on and off. But what I really used to feel like at times really lost in my own emotions, because it was overwhelming. You know, it was that thing where I was like, oh, can't I just be what I would look at other people and go like, everyone else seems to be happy here, just having a good time. And I just felt so much emotion that I felt like there was too much inside of me that had to get outside of me. And now later on, you know, really, especially in the healing and the therapy that I'm helping people with, the fact that not only can I connect to them because I've had that experience myself and I can feel it in my own body, but to understand that there's no way that I would be able to really hear people and really see people and really feel people in the way that I can, had it not been for what I always saw as my greatest weakness, i.e. my emotions, right? So I really, really relate to that.
So I think that's really so right, because I think you can only feel the deepness of other people if you also have felt your own depths, your own deepness, you know?
Exactly.
And deepness never stops. It's, you know.
Always.
Yeah. So for me, it was the same. I always, also as a child, just felt so much. And, you know, I could sit in a train and maybe some people was talking on the other side, and suddenly I was into their story, you know, and I was like, oh, maybe he's so sad because she just left him and blah, 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 you know. So and still I can do it, but I learned to, you know, to also to cover, not to cover, but just to protect myself, that I'm not everywhere, because then I lose myself. But this is also a tool what I'm using, because I feel everything, I sense everything. When I'm teaching in a room with a lot of people, I teach, and at the same time I feel, okay, there's something with this woman, okay, and this man, I have to go over there and just protect a little bit, or you know, I feel it, everything. And this is actually so great in this kind, you know, in the yoga world. This is what you need.
But that's exactly it, right? It's exactly what you need, 100%. And then, like you said, then you also get to know yourself, and you also go, oh, and now I actually need to go home and just, you know, have a quick shower and just be in my own space, just draw the energy back into me and just land in me. Yeah, no, I completely agree.
And that's how it is. I really believe in that our lives is like expanding and contraction. So there will never be an expansion without a contraction. So the expansion is when you show yourself, when you share yourself, when you go out, and when you know, when you're really on. And also when when you show off, you have to be there, take responsibility. This is also, you know, a part of life, really, to take responsibility for yourself and go out there. I think just find your way to go out there, and, you know, do your things, what you like to do, what you're good at. And then maybe you earn money with it also, and then you can pay your rent. That will be nice. But at the same time, it's so important that you also go home and you contract. And contraction is really that you recover, that you restore, that you draw your senses inside, that you, for me, it's like being silent. Or we live here in Copenhagen, very close to nature, and I'm there so often as I can. I really, because nature always meet you just how you are. You don't have to be something, you know. So I think it's really important that you have like a practice, And a practice can be like your yoga practice. So many times people ask me, do you do your yoga practice every day? No, I don't. I lie on the floor and do some yin, sinking into some poses. But my practice is actually, it can be some yoga poses, it can be that I'm walking in nature. It can be that I'm drawing something, that I'm, you have to find out what you really like, and then you do it. And when you do this, it's not about proving anything or achieving anything. It's just about tuning into being to alignment, where you are connected with your inner source or with your inner wisdom or your soul. And that way you also, you are supported from inside, and you feel that maybe the softness inside yourself, where you just can be you and relax. And this is, with that, you can then go out in the world and do the expansion. But it can never happen without doing, the contraction. And I think this is what I really learned through the years, that I really have to take care of myself. And in some periods of my life, I have to do more the contractions. And other times I'm longing for going out, but it's not always the same. So it's really important to check in with your values and where you are in the circle of life, and, and
definitely. And the seasons of life, right?
yes.
And also, like, sometimes we can be in summer, but maybe internally you're going through a winter because you're going through a breakup. Maybe you have decided to start a new career, but it feels stressful and overwhelming. And so we don't feel like we have an abundance of energy and we want to be out there. We might actually feel like, okay, it's summer outside and everyone is outside partying or getting together, but all I want to do is like pull the curtains and just spend time with me, and just you sort of retreat for a while. I can.
And I think also if you get triggered of something, triggers has always something to do with your past life. Maybe you have experienced something, and then you get triggered today from something which actually has nothing to do with what happened, but it has. So I think this is also, sometimes I'm like, I'm still get triggered of that. But yes, I am. And I think what I really learned is that the things that you have not, with the things that you are not fully finished with to work with, they will just show themselves again and again and again. And then you maybe get finished with those things, and then maybe other things will show.
Definitely, because that's how we grow, right? That's how we continue to continue on, right? I think that's a really, really important thing. And also, like, especially when people come to me for healing and people are like, oh, so how long will I need? And right. And it's that thing I'm like, not taking anything away, but healing is ongoing, and it's a spiral. I always see time as a spiral, like you said, and the same theme will present itself. And when it comes back in your life again, it will come in a nuanced state. So, you'll recognize physically there'll be a similar state, a similar reaction, a similar feeling, a similar energy within you that your brain goes, oh, but it was like when I was 5 years old, or, it was like with that other ex-boyfriend, or whatever it is, right? But like you said, that's not evidence that you haven't done the healing, or you're not willing to look at yourself, or you're not willing or wanting to feel better. It just means that we went a little deeper this time.
Yes.
And we got a deeper understanding of ourselves. And the understanding essentially is love. Can I still love myself even though part of me feels hurt about XYZ? And I think that was something long time ago. I kind of realized that whatever happens in life, I don't believe we're here to love less, especially not ourselves. So when we notice a trigger, and whether that's, my inner critic, or we can call it the ego, whatever we want to call it, when there's a voice inside my head that goes, oh, Josie, why did, you shouldn't have done this thing. I don't know why it's a mean man voice, but it was. But if I can, instead of listening to that voice, if I can go, Oh, because my inner child is there going, oh my God, I feel really scared. I feel really hurt. I feel unloved. If I can pick her up, and even regardless of trying to remember all the different times in life where that feeling came up, but if I can just pick up my little Josie and go, wow, I'm so sorry you're hurting. I see you. I love you. I will never abandon you. I don't care how many things happens in the outside world and how many triggers you might get. I'm not going to run away from you anymore. I'm just going to sit down with you and I'm just going to listen to you and I'm going to soothe you. And that's been really transformative in my own life.
Yeah, and I think that's such a profound thing what you say there, because this is taking responsibility. Because I really, really think we have to take responsibility of ourselves, our healings, and that also means to take care of your little child inside yourself.
That's it. That's it.
To really honor her or him, and so this inner child can, feel that you are the grown up now. You are taking responsibility. You are maybe contraction, and you stay home and take care of yourself, or you go out in the world, and yeah. So I think it's, going through life, it's not about more and more. It's about deeper and deeper. And I think sometimes when I look back on my own path, teaching for 20 years now, I live from teaching retreats and workshops mostly in Germany, and in Greece and in Spain. And I work also in Copenhagen now. So I teach many places, but now I forgot what I wanted to say.
Inner child responsibility. We have to take responsibility of our own inner child, of our own experience, whether we're in a contraction or whether we're in an expansion. That's what you came from saying.
I will come back again.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, my love. So it will come back, but until it comes back. So let's jump in, because I think this might be a potent, beautiful place. I know you have so many gorgeous messages to share, and you already have, but from the lifetime you've lived so far, with all of the lessons and all of the blessings and everything that you have decided to take action on, what would be one or two messages that you would like to share with the listeners? What is your soul message?
Oh, I have many, but I think I already now spoke them to you. So I think really the most important thing is to heal your own wounds.
Yeah.
And so you're not giving them further to your children or to any other people in your world.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing, because that means to take responsibility of yourself. And I actually think if everybody will do that, the world wouldn't look like it does. And right now it looks just like, how it looks, outside. So I think this is the most important thing. And this is also my own path, what I did, and I'm not finished with that.
Right, of course
So,
not. Yeah.
And maybe I will never get finished this life, who knows? But I still do it, and I show my children that I do, that I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
I'm, healing.
Right. Oh, and actually, I think this might be what's tying in. Remember, we mentioned that thing of it's not about loving less, it's about loving more. So with the healing of our own wounds, it's that thing of, can I still, when I notice that I'm getting triggered, can I love myself even more? Or even when I make a mistake, hey, I'm a human being. I'm going to make mistakes. At times I might forget something. I might upset someone. I might upset a situation. But can I still have this? Can I still choose to practice the same compassion with myself, the same forgiveness with myself that I would hand out to someone else, right? That I would offer someone else. I think that's
and also I think it's always a decision, it's so easy to choose. If you look at the news, you just, it just expresses fear and doubt and more fear and more doubt. So you need to choose to look through the lenses, the glasses of love. And it's not about, everything is flower power.
No.
It's really about to trust in life, because if you trust in life, life will trust you back. So we need to trust. If you don't trust our own life, I mean, nothing can grow, and everything is built on trust, So we need to, to take decisions to see, okay, I look through the glasses of hope, of trust, of love, and then, things will work out.
Right.
And it's also what I wanted to say also is that, if you look through the glasses of love and you also trust that things will work out, and maybe they don't work out just immediately, but they will work out one day. And this is, for me, I believe in the universe or in the big nature. This is the universe, or the nature is bigger than I am. So if I really want something, sometimes if I really want a project or something, and the more I want it and grab it, the more I don't get it, And then when I'm like, okay, so this is what I learned. Okay, I am giving it to the universe, and I let now the universe or the big nature decide for me, and what happens? It comes. And it doesn't come when my ego wanted to come. It comes maybe half a year later, but it comes. And maybe you also know that. Then it, and it's when your soul, when your essence want to, then it comes. And
I love that.
This is a way also to trust in life. It will come.
I really love that. And there's a saying that I really like, for the first 9 months of our creation, we trusted life. We weren't in the room going, hey, will I get 5 fingers? Will I get 3? What is the price going to be on bread? We fully trusted life, right? And then we arrive onto this planet, and we're here for not very long time before we start to hear from others who we are and who we are not, etc., etc. So I'm not blaming how we are born, but just that remembrance of you've been in the room, I've been in the room, regardless of your beliefs, something brought us here, something created a physical body, something is still breathing life into me and into you. So beyond religion, beyond belief systems, beyond upbringings, preconditioned experiences, something that was here before us is continuing to keep us alive. It continues to breathe life into us. And as long as that something is breathing life into us, it means, at least from where I sit, that something, I will call it life, believes in us. That means life has a purpose with us. That means let's believe in ourselves. That's kind of, and I think that resonates so much with what you're saying.
And I think actually, if you have a practice, when you have something you can lean into, because for some people, if they don't really feel all this, because they are not letting themselves tune into it. I think to have a practice is a good way to tune into that softness, or to this, this subtle, this is a really fine thing, but you can train that because it's in yourself, and you can train it with a practice.
I completely agree. And it is that thing of, okay, so for some people, similar to you, I look at everything I look for all the answers, everything that is a creation in my brain, I look for the answer in nature. For me, that's just so simple. So the same thing with, like you're saying, the seed sprouts and blooms when it's time for that seed. And the seed doesn't lie there in the ground going, when is it my turn? The seed fully hands it over to life, to the universe. I'll either sprout or I won't, or another seed will sprout or it won't. And I'll sprout when it's my time. to sprout. You know, it's
Yeah. Yeah. And also I think it makes you more grateful because you know, I think many people have heard about this, that it is not the big things, but it's actually the small things which are making us happy. And this is really what it is. Because when you tune into this sensitivity, what is your power, you start to feel the sun on your skin, and you see the leaves moving in the wind, and you look up and see the moon when you go home, and you know, you start to see these things. They're all over us, and we don't need to go to Thailand and to, I don't know, they're just where you are. And this is because most of our life is our daily life. So it's really about having and it's not about being happy the whole time, but it's about being to have a good daily life where you have yourself with you, where you know, where you can tune into to being in the now.
That's it. The beauty of the present moment, the sweetness of the here and now, like you and I connecting now, right? Yeah, I really get that. Oh, Stina, I could talk to you all day. We're like, yay! I'm like virtually hugging you right here. I want to add something quickly to this because I heard this the other day and I think it's so wonderful. And I think for those listeners that might be like, well, great, Josie and Stina, but I'm not into yoga and I don't really believe in this and that. So I think for you guys out there, if anyone is listening in and you want to have that feeling of trust. And I think what you're really highlighting, which I love so much, you're making it a physical experience, right? So trust physiologically, your body, your mind is in a state of trust when your body is relaxed, right?
Yes.
So it's the softening. So like Stina, you were mentioning sometimes your own practices, you just lie on the ground. And I do exactly the same thing. In fact, most of the time at the moment, and it's actually also how I'm teaching, I'm just in the ground quite often on my front, and I'm making these big sounds that are coming, these nice primal big sounds that are just sort of echoing and vibrating through my body, allowing everything to soften and melt. Anyway, what I wanted to say, I heard it the other day, I think it's so gorgeous. So it was this scientist who studied lots of systems all around the world, including lots of technical machines and AI and, you know, scientific projects and medical systems and all of those different systems. And he goes, you know, as a human being, we tend to believe that, you know, we are the highest intelligence, la-di. And then he goes, and yet we continue to create all these systems, but we have yet to create a system that is as sophisticated as the human being. And that's it. The system of the human being, we are the only system that is self-regulating. So with that, I mean, so for instance, if you and I, we go out and we dance around for like 5 seconds, our heart rate is going to increase. We're going to have a little bit of adrenaline in the body. The whole body's going to be really high vibing, and our temperature will increase a little bit, right? The minute we stop, our body is naturally going to start to cool us down. Our heart rate is going to start to slow down. Our autonomic nervous system will actually start to balance out so that the sympathetic, which has got us up high, will be balanced out with the parasympathetic. The point is, your body will naturally self-regulate. Whether or not you are having a million thoughts, thinking you're having a good day, bad day, shitty day, your body will self-regulate. Yes, it will regulate faster if you are in a mind space, in an emotional space where you're feeling relaxed, but it happens either way. Your body is always on your side. Your body never works against you. Your mind, which has 500 different agendas, but the body you can always trust. The body is self-regulating. It will always try and find balance. And I think that's so much of what you're talking about. So that thing of like, for people that are listening where you're like, I want to trust, but you know, I don't really trust in God. I don't trust in, you know, universe, life. They can feel like concepts you can't grasp or touch, but something as tangible as your own body, like tuning into the wisdom of your own body, starting to trust that wisdom. And on that note, Stina, where can people find you? So where can people find you for workshops, classes, retreats, coaching, all that kind of good stuff? I'll obviously put it in the show notes with links, but just tell us now. Where can people find you?
So I have a website, stinelethanyoga.com, and you will see everything. It's actually in Danish and in German.
Oh, wow!
But yes, but I see if I can have it in English as well. And on Instagram, I think my name is just Stine Lethan on the Instagram, so you will find it there. And I write everything in English there, so everybody who understands English and not Danish and German, they can also understand.
I absolutely love that. Oh my God, Stina, it's been such a joy. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It was
and
a pleasure.
always, and also, you know, as I've mentioned many times before, you know, I don't think I've ever said this. So thank you not just for showing the way, leading the way, showing what was possible, but thank you for choosing the way, because we both know that those choices were not easy. You know, yes, courage is born out of fear, but courage is also often born out of pain, turning pain into purpose, right? And so I think, you know, just honoring that everything that you experienced in your life, and still alchemizing that pain into purpose, into beauty, into possibility. That takes one very, very, very courageous woman. So I would not be the woman I am today without you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And one I wanted to say, just one thing. So what it makes me also, because I have been there myself, you know, I have also been experiences those pains and so on. So I'm not afraid of pain from other people. So when, you know, I'm a space holder, I'm a facilitator, I hold space, but people can also, you know, going into their processes, and I can hold it because I'm not afraid of it, because I've been there myself. And maybe it's not the same experience what we have, but I understand and I feel it. And I know through different kind of tools I have learned. And so it's like technique, but it's a lot of human understanding and human experiences. So this is being a facilitator, to dare to hold space for people going in processes.
100%, 100%. I couldn't agree more. It's we can only take places, we can only take people, and we can only welcome people into the spaces we ourselves have walked and continue to embrace. You know, we can only fly as high as our roots are deep. So I completely agree. It's beautiful. Thank you, Stina. I'm gonna say thank you to the listeners, but Stina, I'm gonna stay on the line just for a second. So I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you, listeners. We're so happy.